Hi guys! So I finally got back to the easel for just a little bit, and I have picked up a new light, so I should be able to see this much better than you used to. Open it up a little bit. So we are very close to finishing this. In fact, today I'm going to be doing a finishing touches on it, and I thought I'd share how I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do any more to the tree up here because I think it looks really good as it is. And then I'm just adding a few little tiny, very small detail in the bottom here and a couple little details here. I'm going to darken this piece here up a little bit because I don't like how it just pops out where nothing else does, and I don't want to redo everything back here to match that. I like how this all looks back here, so I'm pretty happy with that. So let's get started. So what I'm going to be doing, we'll review what we've done so far. Mostly the colors in this painting are Lake Blue, right here, Payne's Gray, Black, White, Prussian Blue, and I'm going to be adding a little bit of turquoise green today, and then just a bit of gesso in case I need it. So we're going to start with a little small brush, I think I'm going to go with an even smaller brush, about like that. I'm going to get it wet and then also get a little tiny bit of water on my palette in one of the little palette holes. And right down here I have a little, well, I guess you can't see it, to bring it up higher for you. Okay, I'm going to move the camera just a touch, so hang in there. There we go. Hope that wasn't too jittery. I did also get another thing to straighten this out just a bit. Hold the camera so it's a little better. So every step I learn something different. Okay, you can almost see down here. So I just have a little mark right down at the bottom. So I'm going to take some black and I'm going to add a few little rocks down here. That's all. Just a little tiny idea of a rock. A little piece of hair there. Take that off. And that's it. Just I'm going to shadow it just slightly or highlight it a little bit with a little bit of gesso. And you're hardly going to see that at all, but it gives you an impression. Oh, there's a rock sitting there. And again, over here where I've got some grass, I'm going to go ahead and bring in a rock underneath it and kind of pull that out just a little bit. Give it a little shading. These are all very small things that you don't really notice but make a big difference. This one, I'm going to put just a little rock in front of it. And I need some water to bring that over. Just a little shading underneath it like that. And then I grab some of the Prussian blue and pull that, and I'm going to grab a different brush. Oh, I put it right here. I'm too organized about this size brush. And I wet it down just a little bit, and then I'm going to pull this across here like that. So it's just a little shadow. And it's surprising that if this is at night, why would there be shadows? But there are, because the little bit of light, you still get some shadows. Okay, so now I want to highlight these grasses just a touch, so I'm going to try, and I may just paint over it, just depends on how I like it. I'm going to grab a little gesso, and I'm going to try to grab that little turquoise green and just bring it a little bit into there. I'm just going to bring in a little color in a couple little places, but actually I think it works. You can hardly see it at all, but gives it a little life there and a little more depth. These little tiny things are kind of tedious and hard to see, but they make a big difference in the painting. And I'm always tempted to use the same colors I was using before, like maybe a little Prussian blue in there, but it's so heavy with it already, you need to take a different color to bring it out just a bit. So now I'm going to take a little more of that. We want to fill the whole space, and I'm just kind of just going around adding little highlights here and there, like where I think a little piece of grass would be. I've had really bad allergies this year, but I'm starting to get over it, I think. Been heavily using those essential oils to help. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and take some Payne's Gray and go in here just to touch a few places to darken it. And a couple little places, kind of where you think, okay, that's a darker area, you wouldn't really see it in the night. Again, I'm just guessing. There's no real plan here. So I've talked quite a bit about how busy it is this month for me, August. And it is now starting to slow down just a touch, so it was nice to be able to come in here for a few minutes and finish up this painting. Okay, now I'm going to take another little fatter brush, about like that. It's not very fat at all, but I'm going to come through and blur. Looks like I need some water. Oh, where's that water? There it is. There we go. So I'm just kind of meshing this in just different places so it's not clear lines. I'm just kind of doing that. So now I've got that pretty much finished. I'm happy with the color on that. Because I'm happy with the color on that, I'm going to add just a touch of it back here in these little lines here. Just little bits here and there, not a whole lot, because it'll draw your eye to it a little better. And I don't want it to stand up hugely, but I like that it'll show a difference here between what's behind it. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, and I'm going to take a little Payne's Gray and just a little here and there, a couple little lines. And I'm using that flat fatter brush for that. And then I'll grab a different one to kind of blur it. Okay, grab another one. And it gives it much more detail, even though I don't want to over detail anything, which is why I'm going to come back here and blur it just a touch. I wanted a little more color back there. As you can see, I've been painting not just on the canvas. I was fixing up the door in the back because I decided I didn't care for the red door. I have a new video of the backyard, and I explain it a little bit. So how about do you feel like painting goes with gardening? I do. I mean, that's just who I am. And of course, you know, there's some people who love to paint in plein air or out in the outside, and I do too. But one of the things, the challenges here is, of course, the wind. So I don't want to get caught in the wind. So I don't really like hauling my stuff around to get caught in the wind. We had a couple of places I hope will work here in my gardens that I can maybe paint outside in the fall this year. We'll see. All right, so now I'm going to take some black and I'm going to darken it just a touch under here. You want it to feel like we've hit ground here. And I'm going to blur that just a little bit again. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to move over to this section here. Get my brush washed there. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add a little bit of take a little gesso, grab a little bit of the turquoise green, and I'm going to just start filling it in here. Right over here is a little more just gray and white that I did. I just kind of just threw it in. I didn't really do much of a plan here. But then not much of my work has much of a plan. Okay, now I'm going to grab some Payne's Gray, come in here, darken it in a few places. Oops. This summer has been full of kiddo appointments. His art show went really well. His first piece sold the first day. So it went really well for him. And I'm really proud of him for all the work he does. And he just keeps on trying, keeps on going, and he's just so good at it. I don't really know how he does his work. I don't have that kind of patience. But his style is so unique. And I really appreciate that. That's what's, beautiful about art, is that it is unique. Art is in the eye of the beholder, the artist, and it's all beautiful. Okay, I grabbed a little more water. Come in here and blend just a touch. See, this one I feel like is just a little too, I don't know. I'm not happy with it. So I'm going to come back again. I think with a little more, actually with actual white. We're going to come back with actual white and kind of bring some highlights in here. Bring it from there. I think that's part of the problem, is it's just kind of too uniform. It needs to have a little disorganization. That's what it needed. Look at that. It's amazing how nature is super organized but sure doesn't look it sometimes. Looks a little, beat up. But it's very organized. It's got a purpose. Alright, so we're going to take some black. We're going to darken it in right here. This is going to be dark area. There we go. So in a project like this particular piece right here, it's good to step back and take a look at it. See if you've overworked it, which I think I have. So we're going to soften it just a touch. I'm going to darken some of that green. There we go. And I'm happier with that. I think we're going to take a little more Payne's Gray here. Pop that up there. There. Because that green is just a little too much. And starting to get there. Now we're going to take some gesso and pop it in here. And then we just have a few little bit of highlights before we finish up, but we're getting close here. Sometimes these small little details can really take up too much of your time, so you don't want to overdo it, but you want to be happy with it. So now right here, we just have a few little lines coming up. And I don't want to take away from the fact that it's really just sitting there in the water, the tree trunk. So I don't want to overdo that. So I'm going to take a little bit of the lake blue and the Prussian blue. And I'm just going to bring it here like that. Pull it out. And then just a touch of the Payne's Gray. So I want to give it just a touch of a shadow here in the lake. Same with right here. Okay. Now we're going to bring some gesso in there and the bigger brush. And we're going to lighten that. These are the parts where you're like, oh, I could ruin this. Right here. But it's going to be fine. Here we go. Soft line coming out. Because we don't want it, when I darkened it like that, I was like, oh, it's just a little too dark because now it looks like it's sitting on land. Don't want that. So I'm going to bring in a little more of the lake blue. We're going to just kind of float it here like that. A little more lake blue. And we're floating it there like that. Okay, so now I'm happy. It's giving it a nice little highlight there. Now I'm going to grab a hold of the Payne's Gray again on the edge right here. We're just going to bring up some of those leaves right there, some of that grass that's just sitting in the water. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of grass pieces, a couple other places like that. That's so that you get the feel that there's grass that likes to grow here, like that. These are more bushes, and then those are grasses. Okay, so now we're going to come in, oh, just right there. No, actually, I'm just going to leave it alone. And the last thing we do, let's see, grab the small little tiny brush. Where are you at? Hard to guess which one. And down here in this right corner, I'm going to sign it. Now oh, I forgot to finish this. Let's do that. I gotta get that right. Okay, I'll grab a little water and just a little Payne's Gray, just really, really light. Yeah, come in here and just kind of grab that and grab another brush here. We're going to soften it, just touch like that. And also I see a couple of spots where I got white on there somehow. Looks like snow. That doesn't make sense, does it? Okay. Gotta fix that. I don't know. So I'm gonna grab a little black. Just a tiny bit of black and a little bit of gesso. And hardly anything on the brush. I keep talking with the brush in my mouth. Sorry, guys. Okay, hardly anything on the brush at all. There we go. And we're blending that right back in to the horizon there. I'm going to grab another little bit of black. And try to fix this little white spot. I don't know why it's there. Okay. You grab this brush. It's very strange. Don't know how that happened. And we've got a hair on the brush. Always keep an eye out for that. You know, you might have a little hair that attaches to your brush. If you have pets like I do, that can happen. Okay, so now we're going to take this little piece, little brush. It's a dry brush. I'm just kind of pulling it without taking away from the little white dot. And I'm going to add, I don't know, okay, I'm going to take some gesso and a little black, more gesso, and then like I did on the other piece, hardly any paint on the brush itself. And there we go. That worked. Probably can't really see it on the camera, but I'm obsessive about stuff like this. Sometimes I'll miss something and, you know, I see the painting later and I'm like, wait a minute, I missed that little spot right there. I didn't see that. Okay, and you grab some water. This is all part of finishing a painting. Not too much water or you drip. These are places, these are the times that you have to be super careful. You don't want to go back and ruin what you've done. So, all right, now it's done. Okay, now we're going to take, all right, so I was saying is I've gone back and forth on signing my pieces. Sometimes I have put my whole name on it. That's when I started. I put my whole name on the front. But it just takes away from that piece of art, I feel. So I changed it. And then I just kind of stopped even signing the front. But now I think I'm going to do like this one. It kind of depends on the piece. If I can feel like I can hide it somewhere, then I will. So right here I'll do a little ST. And for a little while I was just putting a heart over it, but I'm just going to do the ST. So you can hardly see it because I don't want it to take away from the actual piece. And there it is. We've finished this. Finally, we've finished this piece. All it needs now is the varnish to go over it. And then it's ready to go to its new home. You know, I started to talk about what the colors were in here, and I mentioned a few. The Prussian blue, black, Payne's gray, the light blue, and then I also used some, what was it? Yellow oxide for some of the stars to give it a little bit of more color. And then we used a little bit of the turquoise green in some of these little plants here. And black and white, and that's it. Those are the colors of this piece. I do like to use a few colors in some pieces, and other pieces I use so many colors, and you don't really necessarily see all the colors until they're up against some other color that draws it out. And that's one of the things I enjoy doing. But thank you so much for being along on this particular painting. I haven't named it yet, so we'll have to come up with a name for it, and then I'll post it when it's ready to be on the website. And I hope you enjoyed going through this with me. I know it took a long time, but art really does take a long time. I'm not a speed painter, and of course life gets in the way for a lot of things, but I'm really happy with this piece. I really love trees, and I hope you enjoyed it too. And next time we will go back to the castle one that I'm working on, and then I have another piece that is almost finished, so we can do that. And then I'm starting a couple of new projects. So looking forward to doing those videos with you guys. And I hope you enjoy all the silly garden shows I do. And thank you for being there. Have a great day, guys.